Welcome back to Let's Talk About That. In part one, we saw how China and Nigeria began the 1970s with similar conditions but took very different economic paths. Today, I'll go deeper into why China succeeded and why Nigeria stagnated. But most importantly, what Nigeria can still do to turn things around. China's success was built on five pillars. One, economic diversification. China moved from farming to manufacturing and to high tech. Two, infrastructure investment. China invested in power, roads, rail, and industrial zones. Three, China invested in education and skills, producing workers that are ready and equipped for modern industries. Four, China had what I call policy continuity. The long term plans which they executed across decades, irrespective of who was the leader. Five, China decided to integrate globally, joining the World Trade Organization in 2001 and becoming the world's factory. Nigeria followed the opposite path. So, what did Nigeria do instead? Nigeria decided to overdepend on oil. Up till today, over 90% of export earnings still come from crude oil. Two, Nigeria suffers from weak infrastructure. Poor power and transport raise costs of business. Three, Nigeria also suffers from massive underinvestment in skills. Our education is not linked to industry, making our graduates to lack the necessary skills for modern industry. Four, there is acute policy inconsistency. Nigeria has a situation where projects are abandoned by each new administration. Instead of having long term projects that span administrations, each new government embarks on new projects that are often never completed. Five, Nigeria has import dependence. Nigeria depends on imports to survive. Most consumer goods are brought in from abroad. Now, let's look at some numbers. From 1980 to 2020, China's GDP grew at 9 to 10% annually. Nigeria's GDP grew at an average of less than 3% annually, with several years of economic contraction. China cut extreme poverty from 88% in 1981 to less than 1% in 2020. Nigeria saw poverty numbers rise from 27 million in 1980 to 133 million today. The question now is, what urgent actions can Nigeria take to change the situation? For Nigeria to change course, Nigeria must, first of all, diversify our economy into manufacturing, agro processing, and tech. Two, Nigeria must fix power supply, aiming for at least 20 gigawatts within a decade. Three, Nigeria must invest in infrastructure to connect rural producers to cities and ports. Four, Nigeria must overhaul our educational system for technical and digital skills. Five, Nigeria must secure the country so as to restore investor and farmer confidence. And six, Nigeria must stick to long term plans regardless of political changes or political leaders. So, what is the choice ahead? China's rise was the product of deliberate, consistent choices. Nigeria's stagnation is the result of repeated and avoidable mistakes. The question is not whether Nigeria can rise. The question is whether it will make the hard decisions and stay committed for decades. In the 1970s, Nigeria had a head start. Today it lags behind, but history is not set in stone. If Nigeria acts boldly now, the next generation could live in a nation that matches the prosperity of any other country on earth. But the window of opportunity is closing. And once it closes, catching up will be very much harder. It is time for us to make the right choices. Let us reform our electoral processes so as to have credible elections. Let us demand good governance and accountability. Let us vote credible candidates and stop recycling corrupt leaders. Well, this has been Let's Talk About That. If you found this series eye opening, like, share, and subscribe so that more people can join this conversation about Nigeria's future. The time to act is now. See you in the next video.